That awkward moment when everyone stops talking the second you walk into the room might be more common than most people think. When friends suddenly change their behavior around you, when conversations shift the moment certain people appear, or when you notice you're being left out of group chats you used to be part of, these are not random events. These are clear warning signs that someone might be talking behind your back. Most people spend their entire lives wondering if their friends are being genuine or if they are just being nice to your face, while saying completely different things when you are not around. The truth is, people who talk behind others' backs almost always leave behind specific clues that anyone can spot if they know what to look for. Today we are going to explore 5 specific signs that someone is talking behind your back. These signs are based on real human behavior patterns that happen every single day in workplaces, friend groups, and even within families. Each sign we will discuss has been carefully chosen because it happens frequently and can be recognized by anyone who pays attention. Before we dive into these 5 signs, it is crucial that you do not skip any part of this video. Each sign builds on the previous one, and missing even one section could cause you to miss important details. To save time while still getting all the information, watch this video at 1.5 or 2 times speed instead of jumping around or skipping sections. Now picture this scenario. You walk into the break room at work, and suddenly everyone stops talking like they just got caught doing something they should not be doing. The coffee maker becomes the most interesting thing in the room, and people start staring at their phones like they just received the most important text message of their lives. Does this sound familiar to you? Well, this is not just awkward timing or bad luck. When people are talking behind your back, they create these weird movie moments where everything just stops. It is like you pressed the pause button on the entire room. The funniest part is how obvious everyone tries to be while pretending nothing happened. Someone will clear their throat really loud. Another person will suddenly remember they need to check their email, and the person who was talking the loudest just 2 seconds ago becomes a mime. But here is where it gets really interesting. People who are not doing anything wrong do not act this way. When you enter a room and people are having a normal conversation about the weather, sports, or what they had for lunch, the conversation does not stop. It might change topics naturally, but it does not come to a screeching halt, like a car hitting the brakes. The dead giveaway is in the eyes. When people are caught talking about you, they cannot help but look at each other with those quick, panicked glances. It is like they are having a silent conversation that goes something like this. Oh no, they heard us. Act normal. How do we act normal again? What do normal people do with their hands? The fake smiles that come after these moments are just as telling. These are not the genuine smiles people give when they are happy to see you. These are the smiles people make when they are trying to convince you that everything is perfectly fine while their heart is racing because they just got caught red-handed. This brings us to our first sign out of the 5 we are covering today. When conversations shift the moment you appear, it is not a coincidence. Real conversations flow naturally even when new people join. But when people have been talking behind your back, they panic and cannot hide their discomfort. The workplace is where this happens most often. Break rooms, hallways, and those little corners where people think they can have private conversations become awkward stages for these weird performances. Schools are just as bad, especially in bathrooms and cafeterias where people think they have privacy. The key to spotting this behavior is understanding that genuine surprise looks different from guilty surprise. When you are genuinely surprised to see someone, you might pause for a second, but then you welcome the person into the conversation. When you catch someone talking behind your back, they freeze up and then overcompensate with fake enthusiasm. Now, there is something deeply painful about being the last person to know about something that affects you directly. It cuts deeper than most people want to admit because it reveals something uncomfortable about where you stand in your social circle. Think about that moment when you discover that everyone in your friend group knew about a party except you, or when you find out that your coworker got promoted and apparently everyone in the office has been talking about it for weeks. The confusion hits first. then the hurt, and finally the realization that you have been systematically cut out of the information loop. This is not about being nosy or expecting to know everything about everyone's business. This is about the basic respect that comes with being included in conversations that matter. When people are talking behind your back, they create separate channels of communication specifically to keep you in the dark. The group chat that suddenly gets quiet when you join is a perfect example. Everyone was actively chatting about weekend plans, work drama, or personal updates, but the moment you enter the conversation, it becomes a ghost town. People who were typing paragraphs 2 minutes ago suddenly have nothing to say. But the most telling sign is when information starts flowing in a weird pattern. Someone will mention something casual, assuming you already know, only to realize they have just revealed something they were not supposed to. The awkward backtracking that follows is painful to watch. People start stumbling over their words, trying to explain how they know something without admitting they have been part of conversations that excluded you, who is standing right in front of them. This creates a really uncomfortable dynamic where you start to feel like you are living in a different reality from everyone else. You begin to question your own memory, wondering if you somehow missed important conversations or if people told you things you just forgot. The self-doubt that comes with this experience is exactly what people who engage in this behavior are counting on. The second sign out of 5 is when you consistently find yourself on the outside of information that everyone else seems to have. When you are being talked about negatively, others become very careful about what information they share directly. They will talk about you with everyone except you. What makes this particularly cruel is that information has a way of getting back to you eventually. Someone will slip up, or you, who is being excluded, will piece things together from different conversations. When that happens, the hurt is not just about being left out. It is about realizing that people you trusted were actively working to keep you uninformed about things that concerned you. If the information in this video is valuable to you and makes you want to support the channel, you can smash that subscribe button if you have not done that already. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people who need this knowledge. Now let's keep the ball rolling. Something fascinating happens to people when they start talking behind your back regularly. They begin to treat you completely differently, and the change is so obvious that it practically announces itself. But here is what makes this absolutely brilliant to observe. Most people who do this think they are being subtle. Watch someone who has been participating in negative conversations about you, and then watch how they interact with you face to face. The energy is completely different. Where there used to be natural, easy conversation, there is now this forced politeness that feels like someone is reading from a script they do not quite understand. These people become actors in their own lives, and frankly, most of them are terrible at acting. They overcompensate in the most obvious ways. Someone who used to give simple greetings now sounds like they are hosting a game show. Their voice gets higher, their smile gets wider, and they use phrases they would never normally use. The handshakes last too long. The eye contact feels forced. They ask questions about things they clearly do not care about, and their responses to answers sound like they are agreeing with everything just to end the conversation quickly. It is like watching someone try to have a conversation in a language they barely speak. But the most revealing part is how quickly they want to escape these interactions. People who are talking behind your back cannot handle extended one-on-one time with you. They become fidgety, start looking around for other people to join the conversation, or suddenly remember urgent things they need to do. When someone used to text back quickly but now takes hours to respond, when someone who used to make plans now always seems too busy, when someone who used to share personal stories now keeps conversations surface level, these are not natural changes in friendship. These are the results of someone who has been poisoning their own mind with negative conversations about you. The third sign out of 5 is when people's behavior toward you changes dramatically without any clear reason. When people participate in talking behind your back, they cannot maintain the same level of authenticity in their direct interactions. The guilt, discomfort, and changed perspective all show up in how they treat you. This is why paying attention to behavior changes is so powerful. People can control their words, but they cannot easily control their energy. When someone has been talking behind your back, their energy toward you changes, and energy is something everyone can feel, even when they cannot quite put their finger on what is different. Recognizing this pattern is incredibly valuable because it helps you understand when relationships are shifting for reasons that have nothing to do with anything you actually did wrong. Now, if this information has been helpful so far to you and makes you want to support the channel beyond just smashing the subscribe button, you can click the thanks button just below this video to leave a donation. Let's continue. Here is something that will change how you look at your relationships forever. When people are talking behind your back, the people who genuinely care about you cannot just sit there and do nothing. Their conscience will not let them participate in the negativity, and their loyalty will not let them stay completely silent. This creates one of the most beautiful aspects of human nature that most people never notice. Real friends, when they hear negative talk about you, go into protective mode. They do not necessarily confront everyone in the room, but they find ways to defend you, who is not there to defend yourself. These guardian angels reveal themselves in the most subtle ways. They might change the subject when the negative talk starts. They might offer a different perspective that shows you in a better light. They might simply refuse to add to the conversation, creating an uncomfortable silence that makes others realize what they are doing. But here is where it gets really meaningful. These genuine friends often start checking in more frequently with you, the person being talked about. They do not tell you directly what they have heard, but they make extra effort to show support and care. They might send random text messages asking how you're doing, suggest getting coffee more often, or just be more present in your life. The most powerful thing about these guardian angels is that they prove something important. Not everyone is against you who is being talked about. In fact, the people who matter most are often the ones who are quietly supporting you while refusing to participate in the negativity. When you notice that certain people in your life have become more supportive, more present, or more protective lately, it might be because those people have witnessed negative talk and decided to counteract it with extra kindness. These people are showing their true character by choosing to build you up instead of tearing you down. The fourth sign out of 5 is recognizing when genuine friends are going into protective mode. This is actually a positive sign because it means you have real allies who are willing to stand up for you, even when you are not around to see it. These are the people worth keeping close, and these are the people who show what real friendship looks like. Understanding this sign is crucial because it helps you identify who your real friends are during difficult times. The people who become more supportive when others are being negative are revealing their true character and their genuine care for your well-being. This lesson cannot be taken for granted because these guardian angels are rare, and recognizing them can transform your entire approach to relationships and trust. Now, this is where things get really interesting, and you need to think carefully about your own experiences while we explore this. Have you ever had someone mention something about your life that you definitely did not tell that person? Have you ever wondered how certain people seem to know details about your personal business that you only shared with 1 or 2 trusted friends? When people talk behind your back, they leave behind a trail of evidence that is easier to follow than most people realize. It is like being a detective in your own life, and once you know what to look for, the patterns become crystal clear. Information has a fingerprint. When you share a personal detail with just one person, and that information somehow makes its way to someone else, there is only one explanation for how that happened. The person you trusted broke that trust and shared your business with others. But here is what makes this detective work even more revealing. People who talk behind your backs often reveal themselves by knowing too much. They will make comments about situations they were not part of, reference conversations they did not have, or show knowledge about personal details that they should not possess. Social media becomes a treasure map for this kind of detective work. When you post something personal and then notice that people who do not follow you closely suddenly start acting differently toward you, it means someone has been sharing screenshots, discussing your posts, or analyzing your online activity with others. The fishing expeditions are another dead giveaway. Some people suddenly become very interested in your personal life, asking detailed questions about your relationships, work situation, or family matters. They are not asking because they care. They are asking because they want fresh material to share with others. When you think about your own experiences, you might remember moments when you felt like you were being interrogated by people who had never shown that level of interest in your life before. These people were not trying to get closer to you. They were gathering information to share with their real audience. The fifth and final sign is when you can trace information back to its source and discover that your personal business has been traveling through conversations you were never part of. This is the most concrete evidence that people have been talking behind your back, and it is also the most hurtful because it represents a clear betrayal of trust. Think about the last time someone knew something about you that you did not share directly. Think about the people who ask too many questions about your personal life. Think about the times when your private information somehow became public knowledge. These are not coincidences, and recognizing these patterns will protect you from future betrayals. Now that you have learned all 5 signs, you have a choice to make. You can either go back to wondering and worrying about what people might be saying behind your back, or you can use this knowledge to transform how you approach your relationships and protect your peace of mind. Going back to the old way of thinking after learning this information would be like knowing that fire is hot, but still choosing to touch it. You would have to be pretty foolish to ignore everything you just learned and continue living in uncertainty and anxiety about your relationships. The signs we covered today are not about becoming paranoid or suspicious of everyone. They are about empowering you to recognize when you are not being treated with the respect you deserve. When you know what to look for, you can make informed decisions about who deserves your trust, your time, and your energy. The most important thing to remember is that your worth is not determined by what others say about you when you are not around. Your worth comes from how you treat others, how you show up in the world, and how you choose to respond when you discover that people have not been genuine with you. If you go back to ignoring these signs after learning them, you are choosing to live in denial, and that is not a choice that serves you well. The people who truly care about you want you to be aware, informed, and protected from those who do not have your best interests at heart. The algorithm knows exactly what video will serve you best next, and that suggested video popping up on your screen right now is specifically chosen to continue your journey of growth and awareness. Click on it, because the path to becoming someone who cannot be manipulated or taken advantage of continues with the next piece of knowledge waiting for you.